welcome to the Courageous Self-Care Podcast. I'm your host, Christina Marlette. I almost said the Courageous Self-Care Festival, but that's not where we are. We're on a podcast. I've been thinking so much about the festival that that is what is on my mind. So if this is your first time listening to the podcast, you're going to be confused. Let me help you out. What we talk about on this podcast is courageous self-care. And what that means is self-care that is a blend of both what we often think of as self-care, like external practices, such as going to the spa, getting pedicures and manicures, that kind of thing, even nutrition and hydration and sleep and exercise. Those are all external forms of self-care, and they are all super important. And at the same time, there's a lot that we can do on the inside. For example, the main resistance I hear to practicing self-care is, I don't have enough time. If that is an excuse that you're buying into, there is some internal work that needs to be done, and that's where the courage comes in. Practicing internal self-care makes all the external happen so much more easily. So that's what we talk about on this podcast. Now, I've done some core values work this year on what the core values are for me and for courageous self-care, and two of them that are really important, as you would expect from core values, are community and connection. Community with others and connection to others, and also connection to ourselves. And so I thought, how can I implement this in a way that is actually creating community and is creating connection? So the podcast is one way. We get to connect all over the world. And then at the same time, with the research and reading I've been doing this year, human beings are craving face-to-face connection now more than ever. We can fool ourselves that screen time is connection time, but really when we are with other human beings, in each other's energy, experience things that lift us up, it really can't get any better than that. And so I created this Courageous Self-Care Festival that is happening, in just a few days now. It's very exciting and my mind is very full. So at the festival, we're having speakers who align with courageous self-care. We're having a wellness marketplace with vendors who align with courageous self-care. And they are just too good to keep to the one day. And so I remembered that I have a podcast and that I can share these amazing experts in their fields with you, no matter where you are in the world. So you get to benefit too, whether you get to come to the festival or not. So today I have with me Monique Brown. Monique, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I am so excited to be here.
Me too. I'm so glad that we get to connect in this way. So Monique, tell us a little bit about who you are and what you're up to these days.
Okay. Well, I am a mother of two beautiful grown children, a wife to my husband. We've been married for almost 25 years this year. And I have always had a huge passion for health and wellness. It has always been my focus in my life. A few years ago, I started learning a lot about the importance of gut health and how it is that all disease begins in the gut, or all health begins in the gut. And so I have really delved into educating myself about the importance of gut health, and now it is my passion to educate others on how we can really be an advocate for our own health by focusing on not only our diet, but supplementing with some really high quality supplements.
I really connect with you on the health and wellness, and I've always been interested and fascinated by that as well. And I like what you're talking about. It's kind of a combination of internal and external self-care. Like, obviously our gut is inside of us, but it's our mind that is making decisions on what to put in there. And I've heard the gut health explained as the gut is like the roots of the tree. And if there are blockages there, then the nutrients can't flow to the rest of us. And so when we use our mind to make decisions on how we're going to spend our time and how we're going to prioritize our well-being, that is affecting that self-care on both the inside and the outside.
Very true. Very true. What most people don't know is that we are as many bacterial cells as we are human cells. So we have to be really good to those bacteria. and also the huge correlation between the gut-brain connection. So when we have good gut health, that affects our brain health, because 90% of our serotonin is actually produced in our gut, not in our brain. And 80% of our immune system is actually located in our gut. And so that is just two examples of why it is so important to focus on really good gut health.
Mm-hmm. I don't know if you've read the book, either you, Monique, or you listeners, called Molecules of Emotion.
I have not.
It's fascinating. I think you would like it. It's kind of a heavy scientific read, but it's also fascinating because it's written by the woman who actually discovered that we have brain cells in our gut. Like when you get a gut feeling, it's because there are brain cells in there. Like, that is fascinating information. And that was a real eye-opener for me to broaden my perspective on what our mind actually is. And so what you're saying and what you're teaching people is so important. We want to have incredible gut health and set ourselves up for success.
Yes. Yeah. When you think of just anxiety and depression alone, and how many people deal with those issues. And it's not that there isn't a role for prescription medication. However, if we focus on cleaning up our diet and boosting our beneficial bacteria, many people are able to not require prescription medication. So that's really how important our gut health is.
I love it. And I love that you are an advocate for that kind of unappealing area, but super important. So Monique, you've talked a little bit about what you're going to be sharing at the festival. Do you want to dive into that a little bit more and why it's so important to you?
Well, I will be sharing about, my company is called Plexus Worldwide, and our products are a line of plant-based supplements, very, very high quality. They are all non-GMO, gluten-free, soy-free, very highly bioavailable. And they are focused on getting to the root cause of disease. And so they really focus on things like blood sugar regulation, lowering inflammation, boosting our gut health, and boosting our immunity. So when you have those things happening, what we see is so much internal healing from the inside out of our body, because these supplements will benefit things like inflammation, sleep, mood, weight. People don't realize that a difficulty losing weight can be correlated hugely with poor gut health and poor blood sugar regulation, or even people that are underweight that need to gain weight. That's how important your gut health is and your hormone balance. Your gut health affects your hormones, your energy, your digestive issues, your cravings, if you have brain fog, your nutrient absorption, and like I said earlier, immunity, and even skin issues. So we can do so much with good supplementation and diet.
I love that. And it just sounds like everything that your supplements do can affect us on so many different levels. Like if you're having a health issue, more likely than not, it's related to your gut, especially if you've been on medication, especially if your diet isn't stellar, even if you're doing natural antibacterial stuff like oil of oregano or olive leaf, for example. Those, again, they're taking care of the bacteria. So they're killing what we don't want, but they're also killing and harming the stuff that we do want. So whenever you're taking a medication or a natural antibacterial substance, it's super important to supplement so that it can grow and flourish again.
Yes. Like even when we take an antibiotic, that can actually affect our gut health for up to 1 year. And you look at people that get frequent illness in one, some people are on 2 to 3 antibiotics over the course of the year. And it does take a long time to replenish that good gut health. So it's something that we have to focus on a daily basis.
Mm-hmm. So Monique, I'm curious, how did you get involved in this? Like, what about it appealed to you?
Well, it sort of goes back to 2013 when my mom was diagnosed with cancer. That was really, really scary. And I delved into natural health reading. And so much of what I was reading from all these functional medicine doctors and naturopaths was focused on gut health. So I knew it was important, but I was applying it to my mom. I was never applying it to myself. In 2015, I got to a very unhealthy weight. I was tired all of the time. I had low energy. Some of my lab values were less than stellar, and I was starting to have some anxiety. And I saw my girlfriend. She shared with me how much better she was feeling. And I was honestly a skeptic that gut health, focusing on good gut health could change my life that much. But, I committed to 1 year of a healthy lifestyle with diet, exercise, and supplementation. And my life was literally changed. And that, I knew that I had to share this. I felt it was selfish if I did not share this, because along with my own testimonial, I've read thousands, literally thousands, and many that are so much more important to me than mine. Like, when I see people with autoimmune conditions, not that it's healing their autoimmune, curing, you can never say cure, but helping people get off of prescription medications or have more energy, get rid of the brain fog, etc., etc. That's what fuels my passion.
Well, that's a very powerful story. And is your mom okay?
No.
No.
She's away.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know what? This is another reason I'm so focused. I'm focused on disease prevention.
Right.
And we never know what we're preventing, but we got to start early. And so that's another thing I'm advocating for people to really take their health into their own hands.
Mm-hmm. And I love what you said, Monique, about how you were focused on helping your mom and then you weren't internalizing any of it for you. And I think that's something that is so common, especially for women. We want to help. Like, we're programmed to nurture and nourish and do what we can for others. And yet if we have a block to receiving and we're just pushing it onto someone else, we're missing the boat, really. So it's really valuable that eventually you took your own advice and realized that it was important for you too.
Yes. I think I focused a lot of my life on my kids, my parents, but wasn't focused on myself.
Mm-hmm. So that's a great segue into what courageous self-care actually is. So when the idea for courageous self-care came to me, I didn't know what it meant. It was a download and it sounded interesting. So for the last couple of years, I've been really delving into it and exploring why those two ideas go so well together. And what I've uncovered is that self-care, like the self-care that creates lasting transformation, does take courage. There is fear involved. And it can often be reprogramming our beliefs, examining what's really going on inside and learning how to shift that. And that takes courage. We envision what's on the other side, but even just that, like getting clear on what we want, there can be a lot of fear involved, because underneath we can have the program running, I don't deserve that. I'm not good enough. Who am I to take care of myself when so many other people need a piece of me? And so that's why the courage and the self-care, they are great partners, because once we realize that there is fear involved, like for me, there's even fear involved in some of the external self-care practices, like, oh, when am I going to make time to go for a massage? And then when I examine that and go, that's interesting, there's some resistance there, what's going on underneath? Then it helps transform those limiting beliefs and the ideas that we have that we've never examined, so that they can eventually support us. So I love to ask my guests on the show, what about self-care? So what does self-care mean to you?
Well, I know at one point in my life, a majority of my life, I didn't think it was important. But what I know now is that it is an absolute necessity. If we want to be the best mom, the best wife, the best employee, whatever, we have to take care of ourselves. And there's so many facets of that. It's not just the diet and the supplementation and the exercise. It's so much more that it can encompass spiritual things like meditation. I like to start my day with affirmations. I'm not 100% consistent with it, but I do love how I feel when I take the time to pump those beliefs in me. Continuous professional development, always being on a road to learn. I love to learn. I feel that it's important to never stop learning and to always have a strong friend network, making connections, because to me, that's a really, really important part of self-care.
Oh, you're just touching on so many juicy nuggets there. I could talk about all of those for a really long time, which is why I decided to have a podcast. I thought, I've got at least a year's worth of material here. Thank you for sharing that. And what I have noticed about asking people that question is self-care is there are some common themes. And then on the flip side of that, it's also very personal. And so even just taking time to think about what self-care means to you is a valuable exercise for you listeners, and you've done it, Monique, because it helps us clarify. If we don't have a vision for where we want to go, how are we going to get there? And so taking some time to think and even write down, what does self-care mean to me, is it gives us direction, and then we can work towards it. And like you said, no one's going to be perfect at self-care. That's just unrealistic. Life happens. And then at the same time, knowing that when you do practice what you have set out to do, like the affirmations or the meditation, for example, it does make you feel so much better. And the more we practice and create that muscle of remembering, oh yeah, when I did that the last time, things got a whole lot better in my life, creating that pattern for ourselves can really help.
Yeah.
So then now moving into the courage part. Courage is acting in spite of fear. It means that there is something on the other side that is drawing you towards it. So it's not even so much about pushing through fear or being at war with something. It's allowing yourself to be magnetically drawn to this big idea that serves you on the other side, or this big emotion, something that you value on the other side. And I always love to get my guests to walk their own talk, or walk my talk at least. And stretch your comfort zone, do something a little out of the ordinary. And so the question I have for you, Monique, is what is something that most people don't know about you? We want to know.
Well, you might be very fascinated to know that I was a pharmacist. So this has been a total 180 shift to go from prescription to prevention. And, it was big and scary for me to get involved with a network marketing company to promote natural health. But I'm telling you, when I see how people are changing, how their health is changing, and the feedback I'm getting, it is just so rewarding. It gets me so emotional. And I feel that I am in the right place at the right time. That's, I loved being a pharmacist so much. But I really, really love this new career.
That is totally fascinating. Thank you for sharing that. And it just goes to show that we are malleable. Like the way we are now does not have to be the way we continue to be. as long as we're learning, like you said, that personal development, that professional development, open to new ideas, which you were to your friend, even though you had some skepticism in there, it opens us up. And it's so much more rewarding to live a life where our hearts and our minds are open. And that way opportunities and people can find us and new ideas. And the best thing about a new idea is that it can change your life, just like it did for you. So I just love that you shared that.
Yes.
All right. I know people are going to be intrigued and interested, and you listed so many things that I'm sure people are struggling with. So if people are not going to be able to come to the festival, where can they connect with you online?
They could go to my Facebook page, Plexus with Monique, my website, moniquesplexus.com. My email is moniquebrown@shaw.ca, or they can just reach out to me on Facebook, just Monique Brown.
Perfect. You have all the information you need to take some courageous action. And the reason, or the way that you know that action is a good or inspired action to take, is if there is a little voice going, well, no, I don't really need that. And the tone of that voice on the inside. If that's there, it's a very good signal and sign that it is important for you to move through that block and that fear and see what's on the other side. So do get in touch with Monique if you're experiencing any of those symptoms, because, well, why wouldn't you want your life to get so much better? All right. So at the festival, if you are able to come, there are going to be swag bags. And I'm very excited about these swag bags because all of the speakers and vendors, I've asked them to contribute something that they would be super excited themselves to pull out. I want it to be like a scaled down version of Oprah's favorite things. So when people reach into the bag and they pull something out, they'll be like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. Oh, this is delightful. And it just happens over and over because we have so many vendors and speakers contributing. So Monique, what are you going to put in there?
I will be giving everybody a sample of my plant-based pink drink that has changed my life, that helps with blood sugar regulation, helps with hormone balance, lowering inflammation in the body, and it's really changed my life. And I'd love everybody to have a sample of that. And I also will have a discount code for a program that I was involved in this summer called Pro-Aging for Women Over 40. It was a program with a naturopath, a personal trainer, a nutritionist, and a life coach. And so I have a really good promo code for that online program.
That is so generous. I'm very excited to see the pink drink in action. And I love that I just love that that's what you're contributing. Thank you so much for your generosity. And this has been really delightful chatting with you and getting to know what you're up to and feeling your passion. Thank you so much for sharing that with us.
Well, thank you so much. It has been an honor to be here. I am really looking forward to the festival, and I am so proud of you for organizing such an amazing day. Thank you so much.
Oh, well, thank you. I am glowing. So if you are not in Calgary or anywhere nearby, I'm sorry, you won't be able to come this year. But if you are, we would love to have you. And to make it really easy for you to make the decision, I would love to offer you a complimentary ticket. So to access that, you can go to selfcareticket.com. You'll get, you'll see the webpage. It has all the details of what's happening during the day and the speakers and what they're talking about. And you just click on any of the activate your ticket buttons and fill in your name and email. And then you'll get an email with all the details. We would love to see you there. And that is my way of thanking you for listening to the podcast. So I appreciate you. I give you a virtual gold star for practicing some courageous self-care and listening to the podcast today. And Monique, thank you again so much. I really enjoyed listening to you and having a conversation.
You're welcome.
All right, listeners, thank you for listening. I do really look forward to connecting with you again next time. Bye-bye for now.